I think it's time we drop some Psaki bombs. And we've got plenty of them this week, but we're going to start. This is Jen Psaki basically mocking people who talk about the crime issue in America. She just thinks this is hilarious. Here she is.
I mean, do you remember the 4 boxes that we had on all the TVs, right? Which is on my TV right now. So right now, just to give you a sense, so CNN, Pentagon, as many as 8,500 U.S. troops on heightened alert. Okay, true. Same on MSNBC. CNBC is doing their own thing about the market. And then on Fox is Jeanine Pirro talking about soft on crime consequences. I mean, what does that even mean?
Let me tell you what it means, Jen Psaki. It means 2 New York City cops got murdered in the streets of New York this week because of the soft on crime policies. And you didn't seem to think that was a big deal, but there were tens of thousands of New Yorkers who filled the streets of that city because they're sick of watching innocent people, including young cops, one 22 years old, recently married, and having to watch his young widow come out with tears coming down her face because somebody murdered her husband in cold blood. A person who was wearing that badge for the rest of those folks, and they at least had the decency to go out in the streets and show their support. When an elderly lady gets hit in the back of a head with a brick who's walking 1 block from her apartment to the store, when an elderly lady is pushed in front of a subway train for giggles by some nut and she's run over by a subway train, and most people are scared to death to get near the subway these days in New York, that's what soft on crime means. It means that your idiot prosecutor in New York has decided that if a person is arrested for a serious violent crime, within an hour he'll be back out on the streets. And you've just told him 2 things. 1, what he did wasn't all that big a deal. And number 2, there are no consequences for what he did, so keep doing it. You were just rewarded. Only thing you're going to get in real trouble for and get arrested and stay in jail for is being on the grounds of the Capitol January 6th of last year, and then you're going to be going to prison for 20 years. Go figure. There's something crazy about that. Utterly nuts. And I hope the American people, I know I am, are fed up to hear with it. And that's one that just is amazing. All right, here's another Jen Psaki greatest hits this week, talking about fiscal responsibility while pushing what I call the Build Back Broke initiative.
Jim, yesterday the national debt passed $30 trillion for the first time. Does the administration see that as a problem, or do you share the view of some economists that debt doesn't matter?
Well, the president believes we need to have a sustainable and responsible fiscal policy, which is why he put forward ways to pay for his major proposals. He's committed to a sustainable and responsible policy in ensuring that our long-term investments are fully paid for, like Build Back Better.
It's a real good thing she was reading that verbatim from a script somebody had written her, because there's no way she could, with a straight face, come out of her own soul saying that Joe Biden is interested in fiscal responsibility. This is the president who, after laying out a several trillion-dollar infrastructure bill, which was generally supported by both Democrats and Republicans, then has been hoisting up on the flagpole a $6 trillion bill that is not paid for, that will only add to the deficit, and somehow that means he is a fiscal conservative, that he is responsible in his fiscal management of the budget. That is such crazy nonsense. And again, the fact that she can do that with a straight face, she should get an Emmy for her televised performances. Last Psaki bomb of the broadcast is this one. When she was asked to clarify when the president believed life begins, this is a simple question. You believe it either begins at conception, you might believe it begins at birth, you might believe it begins at 12 weeks or whenever there's a heartbeat. It's a question. It's really an objective question. And I'm always being told by the Democrats, follow the science. Just follow the science. There's some science involved here, biology. I took it in the 10th grade. She was being asked a question that a 10th grader should be able to answer. Listen to how she handles it.
The president has said in the past he does not believe that life begins at conception. When does he believe it begins?
You know the president's position. He believes in a woman's right to choose, and he's spoken to this in the past. So, and I know you ask this every time you come in here, which is you're absolute right. But I don't think I have anything new to reveal for you.
The question is, when does he believe life begins? And it's central to the debate over the question of a baby's viability. And pro-life Americans, don't you agree, should know where the president stands in his thinking on this. It's a fundamental question.
The president believes in a woman's right to choose. Go ahead.
So I guess what he believes is a woman's right to choose when life begins. But that's not a woman's right to make such a biological scientific decision. It's like me saying, I choose to disbelieve the law of gravity because I'd rather fly. So I'm going to get up on top of a tall building. I'm going to take a big leap and fly all over the city like Peter Pan. But I'm not, because there is a bigger law than my imagination. It's called gravity. And if I step off the side of a big tall building, I ain't going flying around Nashville like Peter Pan. I'm going to hit the ground like a watermelon, and it ain't going to be pretty. And all the king's horses and all the king's men won't be able to put old Humpty Dumpty back together again, because I don't get to make up my own science. And that's why it was a legitimate question, should have had an honest answer, but it didn't. It got this flippant, condescending response from Jen Psaki, who basically says, Joe Biden believes in a woman's right to choose. Choose what? The death of her child? That's what we really should just make clear. And it just disgusts me. I do not understand how politicians keep getting away with that. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, then subscribe, and hit the notification bell below. Now, if you didn't like it, you ought to find a Ben Shapiro video to detox you with more facts.